Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to be here. Welcome in. My name is Kendall Smith, and we are so thrilled to be hosting this Women in Business panel presented by PNC Bank here today at 4 o'clock. We have our Charlotte Checkers game against the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. It's our International Women's Day celebration. So what better way to kick it off than by having this phenomenal group of business leaders join us here on the stage for a pre-game panel. So before we get started, let's go ahead and introduce our fantastic women that are joining us here today. If you'd like to go down the line and say your names and your titles, that'd be fantastic. We'll start with Tera Black.
I'm Tera Black, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Charlotte Checkers.
Hello, I'm Donna Perkins. I'm the market leader for the commercial team for PNC Bank.
Hi, I'm Heather McCullough. I am co-founder and Chief Growth Officer for Society 54.
I'm Mary Graham, Vice President of Corporate Partnerships with the Charlotte Checkers.
Joclyn Balanda, Senior Vice President with PNC Private Bank.
Shawn, Coston. I'm an administrator for Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority in the building.
Well, they just give you their quick intros right there. I want to go into a little bit more depth about what these women do here on a daily basis in their jobs, what they've accomplished throughout their careers. So first, let's start off with our first panelist. It's Tera Black. She is a true pioneer in the sports industry, breaking barriers as the only female chief operating officer in the American Hockey League. Yeah, we need to get a round of applause for that for sure, but it doesn't stop there. As the COO and alternate governor of the Charlotte Checkers, she not only has led the organization to success, but she has also made history as the first woman to chair the AHL's executive committee and have her name engraved on the Calder Cup. A leader in the field and an inspiration for women striving to excel in their careers. Let's give an official welcome to Tera Black, everybody. Next up, she introduced herself just a couple minutes ago. It's Donna Perkins. She joins us from PNC, and she is a powerhouse in commercial banking, leading a team of high-performing relationship managers as a senior vice president and market leader at PNC. And with 30 years of experience, she specializes in providing businesses with strategic financial solutions in lending, investment, and treasury management. A graduate of UNC Greensboro, she is also a dedicated community member, serving on the board of the Blumenthal Arts and actively supporting professional and nonprofit organizations. Let's hear it for Donna Perkins, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Next up, we would like to give a warm welcome to Heather McCullough. She is a business leader in development, innovation, and mentorship. As the co-founder and chief growth officer of Society 54, she has spent the last decade helping professionals and organizations elevate their strategies for success. With over 20 years of experience, she has guided law firms and professional service teams in driving revenue, strengthening client relationships, and implementing cutting-edge growth initiatives. Beyond her work with Society 54, she co-founded Society Tech, leveraging technology to revolutionize business development. A recognized industry trailblazer, she has been named a legal innovator and inducted as a fellow in the College of Law Practice Management. Passionate about empowering women and making an impact, she also dedicates her time to community leadership, serving on the board of Mental Health America of Central Carolinas. Let's welcome Heather McCullough, everybody. Next up, we have the lovely Mary Graham. She's joining us today from the Charlotte Checkers, and she brings over 20 years of experience in sales and sports marketing with a dynamic career spanning both motorsports and hockey. Before joining the Charlotte Checkers in 2013, she led business development for NASCAR driver Ryan Newman, negotiating sponsorships and managing marketing strategies as well. Now, as the Vice President of Corporate Partnerships for the Charlotte Checkers, she provides strategic direction for the team's corporate sales division, ensuring successful activations that drive results for partners. A Minnesota native with a passion for both racing and hockey, she spends her summers at the sprint car track and her winters, hopefully into the spring and summer, by the way, as well. We'll manifest a little playoff run at the ice hockey rink. So let's give a welcome to Mary Grahams, everybody. Next up, we would like to welcome Joclyn Balanda. She joins us from PNC Bank as well, and she's a leader in the wealth management industry with over 25 years of experience guiding high net worth clients towards financial success. A senior vice president and relationships strategist, she specializes in investment management, estate planning, and business succession, helping families achieve peace of mind. A graduate of Miami University of Ohio and an accredited wealth management advisor, she is also deeply committed to her community, serving on the board of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library Foundation and supporting numerous nonprofit organizations. Please help us welcome Joclyn Balanda, everybody. And next up, we have Shawn Coston. She is a testament to resilience, adaptability, and the power of embracing new opportunities. After transitioning from a career in education to support her family, she found a new path in the event industry, eventually securing a full-time job with the Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority at a pivotal time for the industry's reopening. Since then, she has flourished, serving on committees for diversity, equity, and inclusion, rewards and recognition, and customer experience, while also being selected for prestigious Emerging Business Leaders program. A true advocate for professional growth and empowerment, she is living proof that confidence isn't just about knowing your worth, but embracing it. Please help us welcome Shawn Coston, everybody. All right, now that we have all those intros down, and by the way, let's just hear it one more time for these women, all that they have accomplished, all that they have done. I have a dry mouth now because I was talking, so much to say, and that's just scraping the surface, by the way, of what they have done. So I want to stop talking. We want to hear from all of you. We have some questions to get to today that we want to hear your answers from this great group of women with such experience. So first question for all of you, and I think we can start with Tera and go down the row, is were there any key moments or mentors in your career that significantly influenced your path, Tera?
There's multiple. I've been doing this for 30 years, so I will say that it's been the most remarkable collection of years and experiences that has got us to this point. It's all about the people. I will say that every single day, that it's who you surround yourself with that kind of dictates a career. So in the early days, I was the only woman doing any of it, right? So there was no more of me anywhere. So I really absolutely needed some male mentors in my life that would set me up for interviews or opportunities or job situations that were ordinarily given to men. So I would say Craig Billington, who was he was a goalie for the Colorado Avalanche, and he was also, I think he's working with the goalies now. He's assistant general manager. I negotiated my first NHL affiliation agreement with him, and he continually put me in front of people that would, and led up to any meetings I had with a full description of my capabilities. Trusted me with things that I didn't necessarily have this experience for, but knew that I would figure it out. So I would say him. I would say my husband, Jamie Black, because he taught me about the game. He allowed me to say a lot of really dumb things when I was learning the sport and ask questions about why we don't do it that way and why we do it this way. And he and his family obviously are Canadian, and so you have to kind of be born into that culture to kind of really understand the nuance. And so I, via osmosis, really learned the sport. Michael Kahn, our owner here, I think you expect to kind of stay in pro sports from 5 to 7 years, and then you kind of move on to the next thing. And we moved to Charlotte in 2006 from San Diego, where I ran the team there, and we thought we would be here for 5 to 7 years, and it's year 19 now. So this place is a beautiful, sticky place, hard to leave. There is a hockey history here that is notorious since 1955. We have a group of human beings that work for the Charlotte Checkers that are second to none in the industry, and we've received, and it's not about the awards, but you receive an award or a Calder Cup or any of those recognition, and it just is a testament to the people that you surround yourself by. So I wouldn't say they were mentors, but they are the reason I am as successful as I am.
I love that. Thank you, Tera. Donna, what about you, those mentors that have helped to shape your career?
So I would say early on I had some managers that saw more in me than I actually saw in myself. And they spent a lot of time developing me and bringing me along, giving me a skill set, pushing me out of my comfort zone, pushing me to do more. And I think those, when I kind of look back on my career, it was some of my early managers. When I was in college, I was a part-time teller, and my manager there, she was pushing me. I really didn't want a career in banking. And she's like, this is the perfect career for you. And she was kind of cultivating that in my mind. And then I went on to do banking. I stayed with that company for a while. And then I had a leader that really said, you've got a passion to work with companies, and I really want to develop you and bring you along. And so I kind of look back to my career, and those are two people that I really think made a big impact at an early age.
That's awesome. Heather?
So I'm going to focus on the other part of the question, which is a key moment in my career. And in preparation for this, I started thinking back, what was something that was somewhat pivotal to me. And I remember I was about 10 years into my career. I was sitting in my office one day within a law firm. I was working in the marketing and business development side of the house. I had worked my way up to a position as a director of a department, and I kind of thought, well, I've made it. This is it. I'm going to just ride this out. And I sort of was just going with the flow. And I had a call with someone who I consider a mentor in my life. And his question to me was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I had truly not ever thought about that. I was just going with, I'm getting the next position in the industry I'm in. I feel like I've arrived, and I'm doing all the things that I need to do. And no one had asked me the question of, have you thought out in your future, and where do you see yourself, and what will you be doing? And that made me start to think about, all right, how do I plan? Where do I want to be? How do I want to take control of my future? And that ultimately led me to starting to seek out a business partner and start my own company. And that was, more than 10 years ago at this point. But I really appreciate that push to make me really think about being intentional about where my career was headed.
That's great. Thank you, Heather. Mary?
I would say there's 3 pivotal moments in my life that led me to this very amazing path that I'm on right now. The first one was 42 years ago. I'm going to age myself. My husband was racing back home in Minnesota, and I was selling sponsorships for him for his race car. And I figured I found a little knack here, and we had some sponsorships come back over and over again, and that passion led me to go to a race where I met a very amazing man who led a amazing, very big PR firm for Jeff Gordon, and he hired me on the spot to travel to some of the races and convinced my husband and I to leave Minnesota and move to North Carolina. And we did 20 years ago, and I was at a golf tournament, and I met the amazing woman down at the end there, and that forever changed my life, and I plan on being here until they kick me out.
They've been a dynamic duo ever since they met. Joclyn, what about you, those key moments and mentors?
When I was thinking about this, I thought back to when I started in banking in the early 90s. I know my bio says over 25 years, but I just stopped it at that. It's really a lot longer than that. There were only a handful of women in senior positions, and so when I started out, I decided I needed to emulate these women. And, they wore their hair in a bun, and they wore suits, literally like men's ties. So I started out doing that for maybe a year or so, and just never felt comfortable. I never felt like myself. So I kind of took a risk in a way and just made the decision that I'm just going to be myself and kind of hope for the best, and it just leads to you being comfortable in your own skin, and which gives you a sense of confidence, and it's worked out well.
Thank you. That's great. Shawn, what about you?
I piggyback off of everything everybody said. As a couple, I did have a mentor. She's passed on, but she always pushed me to strive beyond what I thought I could do. And my daughter, because I never would have thought I would be in this industry. I started off doing the event stuff to help pay for her Christmases and extracurricular activities. And then in one of my trainings, someone said you thrive best in positions that you least expect to be in. And it's when others see something in you that you don't see yourself. And once you get put in that position and it's a passion, you put more effort forth in doing it.
Yeah, and Shawn, I'd love to stay with you on this next question because we talked in your bio just about the way that you went from working in education, now you work in events, and you've done so much throughout your career, and the way that you lead obviously is so impactful. So for you, when you think about some of those leadership skills that have really helped you to succeed, what are some of those skills?
Networking, stepping outside the box, trainings, networking, stepping outside the box. Stepping outside of your comfort zone, because you can get so much head trash that you will talk yourself out of being able to accomplish things. So again, you know, you get some of the best advice from people that you least expect to get it from, and it can be so impactful on what you do and how you move forward.
When we think about those leadership skills, obviously someone having the opportunity to host for the Charlotte Checkers that I get to watch day in and day out lead is Mary Graham's, and she does such a phenomenal job with it, and her entire team does as well with corporate partnerships. So Mary, on that same topic with that question, what have been some of the skills that you've developed from a leadership standpoint that you feel have really fed into your success?
There are probably two that stand out the most. Treat everyone the same, no matter what, whether they spend $5,000 with us, $500,000 with us, no matter what your job is, you treat them all the same. And you'll never go wrong with that. You treat someone how you want to be treated, and I have lived by that. Sometimes it's good, sometimes that's bad, but I treat everyone the same. And the other one is leading by example. I mean, I'm not scared. I mean, my staff will tell you, I'm not scared to get in the trenches. I'm not scared to empty the garbage. I'm not scared to wipe the floors or change the clothes, whatever you need. I mean, I will say that Tera is one that has also instilled that in all of us. No matter what, it's a team effort, and we all work together, and you lead by example, and that's how you create the best coworkers.
Joclyn, you're leading people when it comes to their money. I was talking with her before the panel about all of these different things, and that's obviously a huge deal to everybody when you think about your finances. So you've had to be a leader in so many different aspects of the word when it comes to that. What have been those skills that have helped you in that regard?
The one that had come to my mind was also lead by example, because I think people focus more on what you do rather than what you say. And I've never been great at constructive criticism, so I've always more tried to lead by example at work and with my kids.
Heather, with what you've done and your success in the business industry, same question for you, because I just do think it's so helpful when we look at skills that can help us continue to grow as women in business, or anybody working in business for that matter. What are those skills for you?
Yeah, so again, two, like the others, two come to mind. One is being really curious. There's always something that I can learn from someone else, from, just my own seeking of, new insights or knowledge or whatnot. Just being a lifelong learner. I went back as a grown adult with a full-time job, 2 young kids, a husband, all these things to get my MBA, just because I thought there's more that I need to know and more avenues I need to explore. And so I'm constantly curious about things. I'm constantly taking classes and trying to figure things out that I might not know, even if it's just on a personal level. I like to just learn new things. And then I had a colleague that had worked with me for many, many years, came along to our business, and was a great source of support over the years. And she recently left our organization. And before she did, she said, I just want to let you know that you have the gift of encouragement. And I think that is another leadership skill set that I didn't see in myself. Like many of you said, I didn't realize I was doing it. But she said, that's one of the things is you push other people because you're so excited about what they're doing, and encourage them to continue growing in what it is that they're focused on. So I appreciate her telling me that, and I've carried that along with me.
It's those leaders in our lives that see sometimes the best in us, or qualities in us that we don't always see within ourselves, that really help us to reach a new potential. Someone from my personal standpoint that has done that for me since I got to know her pretty well a couple of years ago is the lovely Tera Black. And Tera, you are a leader in every sense of the word. So what are the qualities that you feel help you on a day in, day out basis to be the leader that you are?
Okay, so there are pretty much 3 things that I live by, and I think I've got several staff members in here that could tell you what they are, right? Loren? Yes, 5 Ps. Prior planning prevents poor performance. That's number 1. Number 2, your grass is greenest where you water it. It's so easy for young people to get caught up in the resume, the next step in the resume and focusing on what's next and what's next. And oftentimes it's about what you are doing right there and watering that grass until it's green, and then you get to mow it and you grow it even better, and then you start to grow flowers, and then there's a garden, and then, you have a whole farm. Like, it's just so important to recognize if you enjoy what you do, there's so much opportunity right where you are. And 3, know when to ask for help. Actually, there's 4 things. Know when to ask for help, know when to back away, and know how to adjust to difficult situations, right? Because those are going to crop up all the time in leadership. And 3, hire great people. I think Michael Kahn, I think 5 years into my job here, he's like, you have got to stop trying to do everything. It's just unsustainable. And so at that time, it was so crystal clear is that I'm not going to be great at everything, and I don't want to be. I want to hire the greatest people for those jobs, right? I want to surround myself by people that are way more talented than I am. And it's such an experience, having done this for now 30 years, to watch our employees develop, and I'm so proud of our crew that we have been together. Our attrition is remarkable. The turnover is very, very, very small. We have a tiny but mighty staff, and if you're lucky enough, it becomes an extension of your family, right? And I will say it every day, every time I'm asked, that I don't feel like I've worked a day in my life because of the people. So.
Donna, for you, obviously excelling in the banking industry and with PNC, but what also stands out to me with your resume and what you've done is the nonprofit work that you do working with Blumenthal Arts. So obviously that side of leadership too. What have been some of the skills and qualities leadership-wise that you think have really helped to shape your career?
So when I kind of think about myself, I think I'm a really good listener. I like to listen, read the room, and I like to come to a situation with a preconceived solution, but I want to be open-minded to kind of take into everybody's thoughts and considerations to kind of formulate a plan. So I've used that in nonprofit work. I love to fundraise. I've done that for years for many organizations, and we use that every day in banking. I mean, we meet clients right where they are, and we're, listening to how we can work together. And then I do that with my employees because I listen to them on what they want to do next, how they want to grow as a person, and then I kind of rally around them to support them in their growth. So I think listening is a big thing. And then I try to learn from challenges. Like, there's a lot of challenges every day. I'll kind of go through the problem solving, and then I kind of step back and kind of take, what did I learn from that? How can I make that better? How can I make myself better? And how can I make my team better?
Yeah, all incredible pieces of advice, qualities that we can all take in, and no matter what field you're working in, we have an array of different women working in different fields up here. Those are some great pieces of advice to take in. And it's interesting, when we were talking earlier in that first question about the mentors that have helped you or key moments, some of you brought up that there were men that really helped you throughout your journey and in the process. And we look out into this crowd today, there are men joining us in the crowd today. So when you think about the way that males can be allies for women that are continuing to grow in business, what role do you see them playing? And we can start with whoever feels passionate about answering this question first, or I can call someone.
I can answer that. There was no women when I was starting, and in sports, the men started that, right? They started all the sports way back at the Colosseum in Rome, right, when they were killing lions and doing all those crazy things. So, the reliability of those types of people early on, and I think honestly in hockey, and I'm very, very biased when I say this, but it is the best sport, right? So there are so many men around our Board of Governors table for the American Hockey League that have multiple children that are females, right? And so there's a genuine, or at least my experience, has been nothing but positive. I have never encountered a time where I felt discriminated against, and so I think there's a bad rap a lot of times for certain circumstances that have arisen, but as a woman in the sport, I have never, not once, experienced that. So, like I said before, Michael Kahn, Jamie Black, Craig Billington, the Florida Panthers, who is our affiliate, Bill Zito is the general manager. He and I's relationship is so remarkable. For me to watch that develop, that he takes the time to call us, Paul Krapelka, he's the assistant general manager and manages our team here, to let me know about player trades or what's happening with transactions, and explaining all of that, because there's a respect level there. And I can't tell you as a woman how wonderful that feels, that there's enough, there's this relationship between us that we've built over time, that they take time out of the day to call us. So, I mean, we have all their players, so it makes sense. But yeah, there's great people all around.
Tara was hearing about all the trades earlier this week.
Please don't take
Trade
my place.
deadline over, thankfully. All right, anybody else, male allies, and how they can help play a role in women in business succeeding?
So in my career, I've worked in all male-dominated sports. I've worked in power sports, in motorcycles, in racing, and now in hockey. And I would say the one thing, and I think everyone can attest this, my whole staff is men. So, and that is a credit to, they bring a different point of view, which I welcome, because sometimes as a woman I get caught up in the little details, which is great, but they also see the big picture. So I feel like the men that I work with in my past and present, they help me see a different point of view, which I welcome that, and I learn from that every day.
If there's anybody else who'd like to add on to this question, I want to leave it open to all of you to.
Well, I was going to say, it's interesting. I think all of us represent industries that are highly male-dominated. So it's, and also we're all sitting up here as women who have been leaders in our industry. So I think that is a testament to the fact that not only our resilience, but also the people that come alongside it to help elevate us. I was thinking of one person in particular related to this question. And I think one thing that he does really well on behalf of anyone that he's around, but particularly the women that he's bringing along, is he's a connector. So he's constantly looking for opportunities to either connect you with an opportunity or a person or a position or whatever it might be. That's always in the back of his brain. Who is the right person to put into place for this? And we've been the beneficiaries of his connections many, many times. And it's so appreciated that he thinks along those lines for us.
Can I just give a shout out to, Paul's not here anymore, but Shawn Lynch and Paul Branicki here too with the Checkers, and Zach Harvey. He's three members of our senior staff who we've all been together to, the amount of support that they quietly give on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes I can get a little crazy, let's be honest. Right, Shawn? And you know, this is a high-paced, fast change. It changes very quickly, and you know, we're not curing cancer or doing anything like that. But there are just dramatic moments that happen, and you know, to be able to have those guys in your circle is really important to any sort of success that I would have. So,
Shawn.
I would say not saying anybody in particular, but when you're in this industry or the industries that they have, building relationships and rapport goes a long way, because we have to fight a little bit harder. No, I'm not even gonna say a little bit, a lot harder. And you find yourself feeling as though you have to prove yourself. And so it goes back to the cliche of actions speak louder than words. And once you show them, then that trust is there, and then the relationships are built.
That was similar to what I was thinking, in that people don't give support. You know, you have to earn support, whether it's a man or a woman.
Donna, is there anything else you'd like to add on to that?
Yeah, no, I think the only thing I would add, I agree with everything everybody said, is I think there's a point that you realize that your voice matters and you need to speak up, and you need to find people that will let you speak at the table and contribute to the conversation. But, you know, all this is the same. I mean, there are men in every organization that are promoting us, and we do appreciate it, and they are making us feel included, and I'm thankful to work for a company that's very inclusive.
We talked about it, right? The highs and the lows, and I'm sure all of you sitting out there, all of us sitting up here, I can speak to this too. You're going to experience massive highs, and you're also going to experience lows working in any industry, and I think that that's just a testament to resilience. That's something we talked about with Shawn when we were giving her bio, but also we talk about confidence too up here with this group, and it takes a lot of confidence to be able to keep forging a path forward in whatever industry you're working in. So what strategies have helped you all to maintain that resilience, that confidence, even when things aren't necessarily going the way that you had initially planned? Shawn, since we talked about resilience with you to start, I'd love if you would open us up on this question.
Getting out of my own head. It's one thing to know you're capable of doing something, but it's another thing when you can actually believe and feel that you can do it. And once you see yourself taking those steps to do it, and you see the accomplishments that you make, it starts building your confidence. And not to sway from the question, but Mary and Tera are really downplaying. They are the smallest things, but when I tell you powerful, they were powerhouses. So just seeing other women, you know, keep going, and just I keep using the word encouragement because it's easy to say that you don't want it, but we always need it.
Absolutely.
Have
Heather.
you all seen the chart? I mean, it's a made up chart, right? Where it says, you know, you start on your path to success, and we imagine it being very linear, right? And it's going up, and we're just following this path. When in actuality, it's this curvy line, and it goes backwards and forwards. And I think that is so accurate because you're going to fail, you're going to have setbacks, you're going to have, you know, times when that path is not what you imagined, and it's, you know, you're taking 3 steps backwards or sideways, and then it'll take you on a different journey. But I think being willing to understand that that's going to happen and then still believe in yourself, and to what Shawn said, taking that next step and then the next one and the next one, and that builds that confidence that I'm going to eventually get there. It just might not be the path that I imagined.
Yeah. And Joclyn, I mean, for you, obviously working in banking, we talked about it, that confidence, that resilience that has played into your career. What have been those strategies that have helped you to maintain it?
I think it sounds a little cliche, but in the private bank, what we focus on is always doing what's in the best interest of the client. And I mean, we truly live it every day and it gives you kind of just a sleep at night factor that you're never second guessing if you did the right thing or what the, you know, if someone had an ulterior motive. You just always do what's in the best interest of the client. And that gives you a sense of confidence. In terms of resilience, you know, I always tell young working moms to not, just to take it 1 year at a time, which sounds kind of funny, but I think it's like impossible to try to plan, and kind of overwhelming if you try to plan too far in advance and think, well, what am I going to do when they're toddlers, or how am I going to do this when they're in school? And I always just took it 1 year at a time and just kind of figured out that year, and then not necessarily knowing if I'd keep even going in my career. But it always just kind of kept working out, and it kept making sense for my family. So that was sort of the resilience piece of it after all these years.
Mary, you mentioned that you didn't even know if you would be in North Carolina for that long, and then look at you, you're here all those years later and still crushing it in what you do, and a lot of that thanks to your confidence and thanks to your resilience. So on the note of that question, what have been your strategies to maintain those 2 qualities?
Well, I would say that I have the utmost integrity. I am, what you see is what you get with me, and I will sometimes say that if it's something I believe in, I'm not always a yes man, and I will fight to the end for my partners, or for my coworkers, or for our season ticket holders, whatever I believe in. It's being honest and genuine. I mean, I would say that my staff, my coworkers, and everyone can probably tell you I'm very genuine, and if it's something I believe in, I'll fight till the very end. And I may pivot once in a while, but it's very rarely that I do.
You'll fight to the death, actually.
I think we were twins separated at birth.
I love that. Donna, you lead a team of high-performing relationship managers working at PNC Bank. Obviously, confidence required with being a leader like that, resilience as well. So, again, your answer to the question on maintaining those strategies.
Yeah, there's a couple things I think about. I'm definitely competitive, so I get into that fight till the end if I'm passionate about that, and I try to portray that to my team. I think you need a strong network inside and outside of your company to kind of rally behind you when you're going through the highs and lows of your career. I think you got to be, in this environment, you got to be real open to change, and because change is constant. There's always things happening, and you've got to kind of embrace that change. So those are some things that I probably do.
We'll finish off with Tera.
Okay. First of all, have your own personal board of directors, right? And I told you this many times, that you know, you imagine the people in your life that you would consider your board of directors that is going, you can call on them for anything at any time, and they will give you the straight goods, right? Mary's one of them, Shawn, Paul, my whole staff, my husband, you know, people outside of the industry. Take a deep breath before you knee-jerk on anything and call those people and say, hey, I want to bounce something off of you, right? A collection of people that have various experiences in their life that can really help you make a grounded, intelligent decision. I also feel like you learn the most from the mistakes you made rather than the things that you do right. I can't tell you how powerful it is to see a crisis arise and then a bunch of really smart people figure out how to get themselves out of a crisis. And in live entertainment, which is sports, there's so many things that happen as we're moving along, and we got to do it back of house so nobody front of house sees it. And that happens all the time. For example, and this is a really great story for our Checkers fans, our first year here back to the Coliseum, this building she's beautiful. She's been around since 1955, but she is very old. And so we were T-minus 2 weeks to opening the building again when we were leaving Time Warner Cable Arena, now Spectrum. And the ice plant broke, which is kind of critical to our game. I remember the CRVA. You weren't here yet, Shawn, but there were various meetings in the bowels of this arena of how we're going to sort this out because it's under concrete. And one of them was almond paste from Michigan, like some sort of almond paste you can put in the pipes. And we're like, this is not going to work. I promise you. Anyway, we're going to try it. They flew it in on a private jet to get these things happening. Anyway, it didn't work. And so there's no time to bust out all the concrete. And so we called the outdoor, the NHL puts on outdoor games, and we built a rink on top of the rink. And not one person knew it. CRVA managed that like champs. It was, we were down to the wire for getting that installed, but we had an entire season on an outdoor rink and nobody knew. So things like that, you see how these people get very creative, and I love that environment. It's like what fuels you. And also, again, I just keep reminding myself that resiliency is also about having the tough conversations. And I've had so many where I walk out of there, and Mary knows this very, very clearly, that I will have a really powerful, really difficult conversation, and there's an antagonist, and then I'll go cry in the closet, literally for like 15 minutes. And it's not angry tear. It's not sad. I'm not sad. I don't want like a hug. It's like the emotional release. And there's cortisol in your tears, right, which is the stress hormone. So crying actually feels really good. Like, I encourage everybody in this room to go have a great cry when you need to. It's really powerful.
I love that. Well, we've got one more question for all of you before we break and we get ready to play some hockey here tonight. And this one is on the topic of young women. So this is great, and I think it can apply to really anybody who is listening at this point, whether you're a young woman or not. But what are some ways that young women, young people in general, can start preparing now for success in business? Heather, you said you're passionate about empowering young women, so let's start with you.
Okay, so two things. The first is grow your network intentionally. So who are those people that you want within your sphere? Not for the purposes of leveraging them to only grow your career, but to, just get to know others. And again, that curiosity mindset. And as a part of that, make the phrase, how can I help you, be a natural part of the conversation, because there's always something, even if you're, the youngest person sitting there, there's something that you can offer to that other person. So how can I help you would be an awesome way to end a conversation with someone. And then the second part of that is never stop advocating for yourself, because no one's going to care about your career as much as you.
Can I
Shawn?
go next on
Yeah.
that? The fact that you said that, I always say there's nobody that's going to advocate for you like you. Just like others want to succeed, you want to succeed as well. As far as something for young women, don't try to plan, because God has a sense of humor. But do something that you have a passion for, because you put forth more effort when you do something that you enjoy doing, rather than just going to work and having a job.
Joclyn, would you like to add on?
Sure, I think coming to work with a positive attitude and just a can-do attitude. We're real focused on not saying it's not my job. Everyone just chips in and does whatever we need to do to make it the best experience for our clients. And then I think the confidence is important, but not when it starts to border on kind of arrogance. And I think humility's super important. And when I think of our best leaders, our regional president for PNC for this area, and then my regional manager, both of their superpowers, I think, are humility. So I would strive for that.
Donna, would love to hear your answer on
Yeah,
this.
I think when you're young and you're starting out, try to find those mentors that will actually give you the candid feedback that you need. A lot of us will seek feedback, but it's hard to hear things that maybe we're really doing wrong or that are going to kind of cut us and mold us, but those are the mentors that we really need. So that's something I would encourage people.
What you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear all of the time. Mary, would you like to go next?
I would say that life is a culmination of relationships. So it's at the end of the day, it's a very small world. And once in a while, more often than not, you cross paths with somebody that you may not know will affect your life in the future. And I would say that I'm one that I've never met a stranger, because you just never know where it's going to lead you. So be open-minded to what somebody else has to say, and just know that there's an adventure out there for you, and just know that you may see somebody again 20 years down the road, and you may end up doing business with them again.
Tara, I've asked you about this probably 100 times over the last 3 years, but I always like to soak it in like a sponge. Your advice?
Yeah, this is also on my wall downstairs, is making a great deal of money does not necessarily make you rich, right? It's a Marlene Dietrich quote, and I really try to apply that to my life, right? Life is a collection of experiences, and it starts with your relationships, and if you're a 5th grader or a 7th grader or a 9th grader, you're building relationships from the moment that you can have a conversation. And I cannot tell you how many conversations that I have had with people that I met 20, 30 years ago, because it crops up. So never burn a bridge. You're going to have difficult relationships, but never burn a bridge. Remember to love what you do. It's not always about the money. I want to talk about being a mom in this business too, because this is it was a difficult place for me to have to admit something. And as women, we want to say that we can do everything, and we're going to be able to manage all the balls and keep them in the air. And when our girls were real little, I realized very early on that the person in my relationship that had the patience was my husband. And so it made it, when we had that come into Jesus conversation about who's going to do this, he's better at that. He was better with the little. And so it allowed me the opportunity to grow my career in the years that he was able to. Thankfully, his career allowed him to really be home at that point. So understanding when you go into your relationships and your partnerships that, in the home, that really matters, so that they support you along the way.
Yeah, certainly. And I think working in the sports business in general, try to look at life as a balance, which can be very hard when you're working weekends, nights, and that's a lot of businesses and industries. So maybe, chiming in on this question, even though I'm not on the panel, instead of thinking of your life as balance and trying to keep it even all the time, the second that one thing goes wrong, it can tilt, right? So thinking of your balance, this is how I do it, and what I've learned from great women like you as priorities. What are you prioritizing in life? Your family, your friends, then maybe your work or whatever that might be. But thinking of it as a balance, the second one thing goes wrong, the second I'm 10 minutes late to work, everything is thrown off. So prioritizing what is most important to you is kind of how I look at that as well. But wow, what an amazing panel that we had here today. I want to sit here and ask questions for longer. Can we tell the team to cut it back? No, I'm kidding. Let's hear it for all of these wonderful ladies. They are phenomenal. We appreciate all of them. Tera Black, Donna Perkins, Heather McCullough, Mary Grams, Joclyn Balanda, and Shawn Coston. Yes, Heather.
I just want to say thank you to Kendall. I want to carry her with me as a hype woman for everything that I do. She's made this really easy, so thank you.
Well, thank you all. Let's hear it. Our Women in Business panel presented by PNC, our International Women's Game taking place at 4 o'clock between the Charlotte Checkers and the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Let's go Checkers. Thanks everybody for joining us. We appreciate it. What an honor to hear from these women. They are the best in the business.